Are you one of the 78% of women that when you most need to defend yourself are going to freeze? I was. It's Brooke. If you don't know me, I am Brooke Mackey Jones. I've spent the last 12 years researching, studying, and practicing in a variety of different fields, learning about trauma and resilience and how do we empower ourselves and others so we can begin to save lives daily. And I'm currently working on a project, a new company called Bio-Empowered Living. We create nature-inspired wellness and personal safety solutions based on neuroscience and studies of the animal kingdom. So one of the things that we've discovered recently is that there is this great mystery within nature. It is called tonic immobility. It is a fast freeze response followed by an extended hold that actually renders the creature paralyzed, unable to respond. Okay, and we have discovered this in the animal kingdom and amongst humans as well. Sharks, there's a spot on their nose that you can touch, or you can flip them upside down, and they are rendered tonically immobile. They're paralyzed. You can see that in the picture. Deer, if you've ever been driving and had a deer jump out in front of your car and they're frozen in front of you, deer in the headlights, they're paralyzed, they're tonically immobile. And if you've ever seen this, so don't go yell at some goats, but there are goats that when startled, if you yell at them, they will straighten their legs and they will fall over. They're fainting goats. Ooh. Pardon. Okay, so tonic immobility. It is the sensation of being mentally alert, but physically stuck. And we see this not only in the animal kingdom, but with humans as well, with highly trained professionals that know how to handle stressful situations. We see this in soldiers with combat stress, where, right when they need to respond the most, they freeze and then they're shot. We see this when we listen to the black box recordings from airline crashes. When an airline pilot, someone that's very trained, is experiencing engine malfunction, they reach a point of overload, of an overloaded system that causes them to freeze. And you'll hear them begin to stutter in the tape. And then they crash. You also see this, unfortunately, in women that are facing sexual violence or physical assault. You'll find women that become frozen and unable to defend themselves. And unfortunately, that doesn't help anybody. Okay, why does this matter? 1 in 3 women around the world will be physically or sexually assaulted at some point in their life. And these numbers, this is based off of what's reported. And I'm one of the women, I didn't report what happened when I was younger. Of these women, an average of 70% of them will freeze and they'll fail to defend themselves. Despite the fact that the women that did try to defend themselves, that either spoke up and verbally defended themselves or physically fought back, 67% of the time, those women actually improved their situation. They helped themselves. So it got us thinking. We were wondering, what is happening here? If you know that fighting back or speaking up for yourself is going to make a difference, why do so many women freeze? And then what can we do about it? So this is what happens in a healthy, balanced system. Your body and your brain are divinely engineered to work beautifully Unfortunately, the lifestyle, our modern way of living, we haven't caught up to it. We haven't evolved into it yet. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you were living on the Serengeti or out in the wild in the frontier days, you would occasionally have an outside threat. So there's a stimulus, there's a perceived threat. You become aware of something that you need to protect yourself from. Your body sends a signal to your brain, which turns on your amygdala, which is number 3. And your amygdala begins to flood your brain with fight or flight hormones, including adrenaline, including cortisol, which is a natural painkiller. There's this moment of freeze while your body gets this going. Your sympathetic system comes online, so your pupils dilate so you can see the situation, survey the surroundings. Your heart begins to pump more blood. Your major muscle groups are flooded with this oxygen-rich blood. And you're basically like in a crouched position, ready to fight, ready to flee. And then you do one of those things. And then eventually, once the threat is done and over, your body will go into a post-threat parasympathetic system response, which is a period of rest and recovery. Okay? So fight or flight, calm down. Now my body's digesting food again. I'm able to rest. My breathing is deeper, okay? Unfortunately, we live in an environment that has a lot of additional stress. By additional stress, I mean jobs, traffic, peer pressure, the media, you name it, living paycheck to paycheck, etc., that causes your system to have an influx of stress hormone all the time. And most of our society is not conducive to burning this stress hormone off or releasing it and moving it through the system. And so many people are swimming around already stressed, already activated, already flooded. And then you have a stimulus. Your brain gets the signal that it needs to turn on the amygdala and release more hormone. And now suddenly your entire system is flooded. And your brain just doesn't know what to do at that point, okay? So your system can become flooded when you're denied the opportunity for fight or flight. Or if this has just become a repetitive pattern and an automatic response, as it is in victims of recurrent abuse. If people have been held down or restrained, their body will jump directly into this rest and recovery mode, okay? So your system gets flooded with all of this extra hormone on top of the chemical cocktail it already has. And essentially what is happening is your brain is drugging you. Your own body is putting you in an incapacitated state. And in this state, your muscles become flaccid. You lose muscle tone. A lot of people will collapse or shrink, or they're not able to move. You have the tunnel vision that I described. Your heart rate slows. Your blood pressure drops. You get dizzy. It's wildly scary, truthfully. And now your body is in rest or recovery mode. Unfortunately, this is happening while the threat is still here. So you could see how that would become a problem. Okay, so what do we do about this already flooded system? And how do we begin to drain the things that are causing our system to be flooded in the first place? So if you can just imagine that your system is a series of pools and you have your own personal pool, okay? And this is like your own system of well-being. You also have, if you're buying into it, and until you've discovered this and chosen something different, you'll have a pool of past pain, of dead dreams, and of people's problems. So essentially what's happening is your personal pool, your system, is becoming overloaded by outside stressors. These include unresolved trauma, past hurts, failures, other people's problems, other people's business that you've bought as your own. And once the system is overloaded, you're swimming in this cocktail all the time. You experience anxiety, depression, fear, disease. It's stated that stress is actually the cause of 75 to 90% of the medical conditions that people seek healthcare for. So this is a big issue. And unfortunately, when you're living in this space, even simple daily tasks and situations become unbearable. So you eventually develop what is like a short fuse, where maybe you get a bill with the past due notice and that is the thing, and it sends you over the edge. Or you find yourself in a situation where you need to protect yourself and you can't, you're frozen. So how do you get your system out of overload and back into presence? The present moment is where your power rests. The present moment right now is what matters. So the first thing that you need to do to get back into presence and to take control of your personal pool, you need to stop allowing other people's stuff to get to you. You need to turn off that drain, okay? And how do you do this? Number one, honor the hula hoop. So if you can just imagine that you have a hula hoop around you, and this is your own personal circle of space, you are responsible for what's in the circle. You are responsible for keeping it happy and healthy, and it's about all you can control, okay? How are you doing? Anything outside of the hula hoop is not your business. So honor the hula hoop. Number two, begin to set up some healthy boundaries in your life. Other people's problems are not your own. So set some healthy boundaries. You can love somebody, but love them from afar, okay? If their behavior is intolerable, you can give them some space and distance. You're allowed to do that. Drain past pain. You know, this was an interesting one for me to tackle because I had a lot of past pain. And I thought for a really long time that if I were to face it, I think I was more afraid of facing it than anything else. And when I finally did get up the courage to do it, what I discovered is that I was holding on to a lot of things that really didn't need to be there. I was repeating patterns in my life that had been long dead and gone, but I was so afraid of looking at them, I was keeping them active in my energy and in my head and in my space. So you drain past pain by forgiving yourself and by forgiving others. Forgiveness does not mean that you condone the behavior. It doesn't mean that you necessarily continue a relationship with that person. What forgiveness means is I'm going to stop giving this person that hurt me space in my head rent-free, and I'm going to stop drinking the poison of that experience. I'm going to move on. And I'm going to forgive myself for putting myself in that position in the first place. I'm going to forgive myself for maybe not trusting my intuition or following my heart or setting a boundary. I'm going to forgive myself because I know that myself and others, we're always doing the best that we can in the moment with what resources we have available at the time, okay? And then drain dead dreams. What are dead dreams? Dead dreams are anything that maybe you've tried but you feel like you failed. You know, things that didn't go the way that you hoped that they will, things that woulda, coulda, shouldas. So how do you get over that? Number one, honor the grief cycle. Look, anytime you're going through a big change, even if it's something that is seemingly positive and an up level in your life, you're going to have some shifting. Every up level means that some people end up leaving, some situations happen, life happens on life's terms. Honor the grieving cycle. Allow yourself to actually move through the experience and grow through what you go through. Let yourself feel what's there. Be present with your emotions. Let it flow through you. Don't bypass it or box it away. Be present with it. That will allow you to heal. Pardon, I'm getting over a cold. Number two, find a new dream and choose a new reality. You know what? One of the most fun things that you can do when you've allowed yourself to go through this grieving process, grief changes you. It just does. Go find out who you are now. Go play, go adventure, go explore, go do something that you've never done before. That thing that you're like, oh, I've always wanted to, but that thing, go do that and cast a new vision of a new future that is compelling, that is fulfilling, that lights you up, that's full of joy. All right? Finally, so now that we've shut off the other pools that had other people's stuff in it, we've got to really reclaim and take ownership of our own personal pool, our own personal hula hoop, our well-being. How do you do that? Number one, stop allowing the past to plague the present. Hakuna Matata. Okay? What matters now is this present moment. God is the great I am. Your power is now, right now. You can't change the past. You can't predict the future now. Stop tolerating the intolerable. I dare you to get out a notebook this afternoon and make a list of all the things that you're tolerating. What are you putting up with that really doesn't work for you? And then begin to get curious. Begin to get curious about how you could alter those things and what else you could actually allow in. What things could you add to your plate that bring you joy? What things could you add to your plate that are going to have your experience be more fulfilling and bring you more happiness? Number three, remove stress. Now, I get it. Up until recently, we lived in the city, and I understand the schedules and the traffic and the life, and I get it. I know that some things are unavoidable. However, if going to your families for the holidays is actually way more stressful than you would like to have, you don't have to go. In fact, that was a really powerful thing that I did for myself last year. It was a self-care thing. And we've created some new traditions within my immediate family that are beautiful and delightful, and I'm so glad we get to have a different experience. If your job really stresses you out, there's lots of jobs. You have so many gifts. You have so much to bring to the planet. You don't have to be stuck somewhere that you're dissatisfied and unhappy. Remove the stress that you can. If you find that you're really stressed because you always run late in the morning, get out of bed 20 minutes earlier. Give yourself that window of time. Cut down that stress. I promise it'll make a difference. Stop buying other people's problems as your own. Doesn't matter. They've got their own hula hoop and their own stuff, and they can be in their storeroom. And honestly, like, one of the healthiest, best things that you can do if someone's in their storeroom, hey, I love ya. I see you in your storeroom. I'm going to take care of my hula hoop. And then go do something that is inspiring and fulfilling and fun and playful for you. Number two, you got to actually drain the pool. We've got to get some of this stress chemical out of your brain and out of your body. So number one, if you are someone that has been living in this feeling of fight or flight, of anxiety, of for a long time, you likely have a vitamin, mineral, nutrient deficiency. For most people, it's potassium, magnesium, and electrolytes. We're just lacking. Our nutrition is lacking in this country anyway. Number two, you've got to get out and move. You need to actually move this through your body. So I recommend, it doesn't really matter what kind of movement. What do you like doing? Do you like dancing? Do you like yoga? Do you like Pilates? Do you like lifting weights? Do you want to go punch something? Find something that feels good for yourself in the moment and go do it. Allow this to move through you. Number three is breath work. We can touch on more of that later, but really simply right now, you can do a 4-7-8 breath. This calms your nervous system. So plant your feet on the ground. Take a big, deep breath to the count of 4. In. Hold it for 7. Exhale for 8. Okay. And if you can't hit those numbers across the board, just do your best. The idea is to have a nice long exhale that resets your vagal system. It calms down your nervous system and brings you back into the present moment. Rest. You know, we don't allow ourselves enough time for rest and recovery. And this doesn't mean scrolling Facebook or binging on Netflix necessarily. Sometimes you need sleep, and it's okay to give yourself permission. It's an act of self-care to get some more sleep and allow yourself to recharge. Meditation and yoga are also great for draining this personal pool and calming the stress chemicals within your body. Yoga has actually been shown to be one of the top things to release trauma that has been stored within your physical tissue. And I've also found that anytime that you find more balance or strength or flexibility physically, that transfers emotionally and mentally as well. All right, and then finally, maintain your pool. So now that you've drained the pool and you found this place of presence, you are able to live in the moment and you know inner peace. I want you to bring yourself back to the present moment. Make sure that you're establishing and enforcing those effective boundaries that are going to allow you to provide for yourself and your well-being. And then go choose the things that bring you joy and actually light you up. You deserve it. For those of you that are interested in the more technical, more scientific side of things, this chart breaks down exactly what's happening within your brain and within your body during this process. So I'll leave this up for just a moment. And if you have any questions from this teaching, I would love to answer them. We are currently creating technology to help women that reach this tonic immobility state. So we're creating curriculum, we're creating technology, we're creating tools. I can't wait to tell everyone more about all of that. But I hope that today's training was informative and something that is going to help you move forward in the best way possible. We'll chat soon.